Welcome to Albuquerque Real Estate Talk, episode 489, mid-May 2024. We've got Homes of the Week. As always, what is the best time of year to sell your home? Got a secret there. What is a must-have every seller must have to make sure their home gets the most listing exposure, the listing powerhouse? We're going to talk about that, Tracy, as well as where we are with home equity and net worth for homeowners. And we're going to get into home inspections because I have been working on home inspections processes all week. And the thing that's interesting about that is there are so many different types of inspections that you can get. So we'll go through that as well. Welcome to Albuquerque Real Estate Talk. It's Tego and Tracy Venturi. You can reach us at our team at the Venturi Realty Group at 505-448-8888. We are with Real Broker here in New Mexico. All right, Tracy, the story we got to start with is, when is the best time to list your home for sale every year? And so go ahead.
I was going to say, there's the whole, it's always like, when is the right time for you? But if you want to know statistically when we typically see homes sell for the highest price per square foot, that's what we're talking about.
Does anything other than the data matter?
Yes, it absolutely does.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And what I did is I went back, Tracy, and I went back to 1999. I was able to get some data on home values and the monthly pattern of home values year over year over year over year. And what we've seen, and anecdotally we've seen this for years, is that during the spring, early summer, there's more activity. Homes tend to sell for higher prices. And when I do the math and go through and average it out year over year over year, we end up that really the highest priced month for homes that closed are June, July, August, which means you have to back it up, right?
Backdate it, to getting your house ready, to getting it ready for photos, getting your yard ready, and then time to do the great professional photography, time for some marketing, time for it to be on the market, time to have showings, time to get offers. And then it's 30 to 45 days typically from accepted contract to closing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which means now's
the time.
I did this back in January. I did that analysis, and nothing's really changed this year because we don't have the seasonal pattern of this year yet. But it is shaping up that home prices are running up this time of year, pretty normal. And more than likely, they'll pull back a little bit going into late summer and fall, which is very common. Time to get your home listed. If you want to do that, reach out to us, the Venturi Group at Real Broker.
Tego, that's like, to me, it's a perfect segue into one of the stories I was going to talk about.
Great.
So we have been selected by Zillow to be partnering with a product that they rolled out not long ago, and they're only going to allow a few brokers in New Mexico to have this ability. It's called Showcase Listing Plus. And what it is it's really premium marketing, premium photography, premium interactive floor plan. But the way that Zillow boosts it on their site, which I'm sure all of our listeners, Tego, know is the most used home buying site in the world. More buyers are on Zillow than anywhere. So the exposure is huge because they boost it and they do some reverse prospecting, so to speak. So they put it out in front of people that they know are on their website searching for homes. And we have been selected to partner with them to participate in the Showcase Listing Program. Yes, there's a fee to it.
Can I just say we were selected to pay the fee to actually enhance our listings.
The homes we represent for sale are going to be enhanced because we've been selected to participate in the program. And yes, we pay for it. However, we're in a great position to pay for it. And we feel like it's so important for our home sellers because the statistics that Zillow has says it gets your home when we list it and feature it through this program, which every house might not qualify. So we can't tell you that if you call me today and say, I'm going to list and I want Showcase Listing Plus, I can't guarantee that we can boost your house. There's some different parameters, but Zillow says that their statistics from when they rolled this out, they're getting 70% more exposure on Zillow, and that people are getting, great exposure, top dollar, more buyer interest in their home, which is going to net our home sellers the best price and terms.
I just got to say, if you're listing your home for sale, I can't imagine doing it without being on this program. Zillow is the number one website for home search in the world, really. And there's, as far as I can tell, I think there's maybe 5 or so of us in the Albuquerque area of about 4,000 realtors in our market here in Albuquerque that have this product available.
So Zillow gets 226 million views per month by home buyers on their site. Now, they're not all in New Mexico, but 226 million views. And I know they track everything. They have great tracking and analytics.
You know what's funny about that is I hear people talking about how they use Zillow as just kind of like they scroll through it as like for something to do, even if they're not necessarily in the market for a home. But, who knows? No, I just think it's an interesting side note because obviously there's not 226 million home buyers every month, right?
No, but people come back, right?
Of
It's
course.
Counting how many times that one person might come back. Because if you're really looking for a house, you might be on Zillow 5 times a day at work and in the evening. And, that reminds me of something, and I'm not going to name names, but I have a client who bought a house from me and went through this whole withdrawal because every night she would scroll Zillow and she called him my Zillow boyfriend.
Yeah.
And every night she was with Zillow looking at photos. And after she got her house under contract, she kept looking because that's the habit. And after her house closed and she really didn't need to look anymore, it was this hard habit to break. So she was like, I broke up with my Zillow boyfriend. Anyway, it was pretty cute. But I think a lot of us are like that with a lot of sites online where if we have to stop them, it's a hard habit to stop. So that's our Zillow Listing Showcase Plus that we're offering. And if it's something that you want to learn more about, we are Venturi Realty Group of Real Broker here in New Mexico, coming to you on the Kiva and on our podcast and on YouTube. Best way to reach us, 448-8888. I know you guys know we're in the 505. 448-8888. We'd be happy to meet with you. Don't wait. Like Tego was just saying, May is the month to be thinking about putting your house on the market. And we know that a lot of times sellers underestimate the amount of time it might take to get your house prepped and ready to go. So give us a call right away and we'd be happy to help.
I wanted to talk about what's happening with mortgage rates this week because that's obviously has a huge impact on the real estate market. Mortgage rates are generally a national phenomenon, not really localized. And it's interesting because there was a survey done by the Bank of New York. Who is this? This is the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And they surveyed a group of housing economist type people and economists in general. And some of them, and a group of them were thinking rates are going to get up over 8%. There was another survey that surveyed household, and they're thinking that rates are going to be below 6% by the end of the year. So basically, trying to forecast mortgage rates is kind of, I won't say it's a fool's game, but if you're waiting to do something with your housing based on what mortgage rates might do in the future, it might be a little frustrating, I'll just say, because it's changing all the time. And like we always say, Tracy, if it's the time to buy, the time to sell, the timing's right for your stage of life, then as long as it fits into your budget and you can afford that monthly payment at the current mortgage rates, it's probably a good time to buy.
Yep, for sure. Can we talk about a house for sale?
Yes.
Is it possible?
Time for Homes of the Week. Is that what you're saying?
Would that be okay, Tego?
That would be okay.
We have.
When have you ever asked me permission for anything?
I usually do. And then I do it, whether you say yes or no, right?
Exactly.
So we have a really phenomenal home. It's a Mossman. And for those of people that have been in Albuquerque a long time, you'll recognize the builder, the Mossman homes. A lot of people really love them. So this is a Mossman at 7701 Hermanson Place Northeast. It's listed at $599,000. It's almost 2,700 square feet. Tego, a really beautiful single-story home, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths with 2.5 baths, 2-car garage, really beautifully done. It's got some really big windows that bring the outside in. It's really phenomenal floor plan that I've seen. One of the things about it, it is one of the first homes that we featured as a Zillow listing showcase plus property. So check it out and look at that interactive floor plan and how it shows you side by side what room you're in while you're in it, so you can really get a feel for the house and make a good decision. But it is going to be open today, Saturday, from 1 to 3. Lisa Pino, our great home selling specialist on our team, is handling that property, and she will be there, as well as another realtor on our team, to make sure everyone gets well taken care of, to have the opportunity to see that house. So it's on 1 to 3, and it's Mossman house in Uptown area. So really great. 7701 Hermanson. I don't want to run out of time and forget to mention that house. That's because great. It's really special.
I want to talk about net worth, home equity, and how much of an impact. And then I've got a tag on story to go along with that. Right now in the United States, homeowners have the best balance sheets ever, meaning they have the most equity in their homes. The chief economist at CoreLogic just recently came out and said that the average equity per borrower in the United States is almost $300,000 on average.
Wow.
How much equity people have. And in the average loan, what do you call average loan to value ratio, LTV, is 43%. So people have a lot of equity in their homes. And what I wanted to bring up about that is when you compare it to the average renter, it's about 10,000 maybe net worth, where the average homeowner, when we're talking net worth, is closer to almost 385,000. So now I want to be clear, I'm not talking causation here, but there is definitely correlation between being a renter and being a homeowner and your net worth, right? And you know, again, we can argue that causation or correlation, it's probably more correlation than causation, but it probably figures into that. The thing that's interesting about that, Tracy, is that when you look at the lower, let's say, income folks, people in the lower kind of income brackets, when we talk about net worth, the people in the lower brackets, a larger portion, more than 50% of their net worth is in the equity in their home. Where you start getting up in the higher net worth individuals, a lot of their stuff's in stocks and, 401k plans and bonds and other types of diversified investments, where people in the lower price ranges or lower income brackets, they have a lot tied up in their homes.
Yep.
And so anyway, it's just an interesting take of where we are in the housing cycle. The segue to that is there was a story that came out just this last week, and it was Freddie Mac, and they are looking at doing a long-term second home mortgage for people that have a Freddie Mac mortgage, right? So that's one of the GSEs that hold a lot of the mortgages in the United States.
The GSEs?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know. I have to think government.
It's one of the entities that do that basically underwrite a lot of the mortgages. So if somebody has a Freddie Mac, and again, this is just a proposal right now, but if somebody has a Freddie Mac mortgage, a first mortgage, Freddie Mac wants to be able to offer that person a second mortgage without having them refinance their first mortgage. So if somebody's got that 3% mortgage, they want to take some cash out of their house right now by refinancing. Very common, right? Very common practice of you've built up some equity in the house. You want to pull some of that cash out to use elsewhere, other investments, whatever. If you've got a 3%, 3.5% mortgage, you're not real excited about refinancing into a 7.5% mortgage or 7% mortgage, kind of where we are today.
Right.
So what they're looking to do, and again, this is just proposal, is, okay, you keep your 3-4% mortgage, but then you get a second mortgage at the current mortgage rates. So the blended is better than refinancing is what I'm getting at.
And this is instead of getting like a home equity line of credit. But like what we know, and we were talking to a lender Thursday afternoon, right? We were at Bosque Brewing, great local place. We were talking to actually two great local lenders from primary residential mortgage there. And we were debating this, if this is how this might work. And actually one of them said, when there's a lot of banks where if you open a home equity line of credit and you actually use some of that, you can lock that in and make it become a 30-year at that rate, right? You can kind of close it down and have it kind of convert. So there's lots of options if you're looking at something. The best is we could get you connected to a great local lender to look into what options you might have if it sounds like something you might need.
Yeah. So, I mean, the home equity line of credit, or the HELOC, that's been around a long time, and a lot of people take advantage of that. And the thing that's nice about the HELOC is it's more of a revolving loan. So basically it's a line of credit that you can use the equity in your home as the collateral to get some cash to do something else with it. So of course you still got to qualify, and your rates are going to be a little bit higher, but they're not too bad. And I know that the credit unions in town have some really great HELOC products. And
yes, they do.
I mean, just about every bank has it. It's not, HELOCs are not through a traditional mortgage lender. It's through a bank normally.
A bank or credit union.
Yeah.
Which is great. And there are some great ones for sure.
Home inspections. I want to talk about home inspections in the process. This is for home buyers, home sellers, just so you can just have a basic idea of what this home inspection thing is all about. So when somebody puts a home under contract to purchase, they've got this due diligence period. And I think the largest thing, I don't know, largest thing, is that the right word? But one of the most impactful things that happen during that contract to close time are home inspections, or actually inspect the property. But there's other stuff too, Tracy, like surveys, appraisal, title inspection.
Right.
There's a lot of other things that happen. Document,
review.
Permit review, document
covenants and restrictions,
HOA. Yeah, so there's all these little things that have to be dealt with
that we facilitate and help make sure happen.
Exactly. But like I say, I think one of the bigger ones is actually the inspection of the property itself, the actual home and property. And in New Mexico, you do have to do what they call a full home inspection. There is licensing required for that. You have to be licensed. It's through the RLD, Regulation and Licensing Department of the state, that does licensing for all professionals in all different industries. And the thing that's interesting about it, we didn't used to have this. We used to
the licensing law,
right? We didn't used to have home inspectors required to be licensed. It used to be a home inspector just say, "I'm a home inspector."
Yeah.
And that was it. There was no, I mean, there's always been training available in different entities that do training, but there was no licensing required in New Mexico. Well, now there is, which is great. The thing that went along with that is it's a very specific list of what a full home inspection includes and what it doesn't include, more importantly.
Right.
Because people may think, okay, I'm going to get a home inspection. They're going to check my sprinkler system. Well, no, that's not part of it. They're going to check the refrigerator. Well, actually, that's not part of it if it's not attached.
Right.
They're going to check the washer dryer. Well, no, that's not really part of it.
And speaking of refrigerator, not that this is really on topic, but if the refrigerator is being included as a part of the sale, even though it's not attached, the home inspectors generally won't inspect it, but they'll generally take a picture of the whatever it is that shows this is the make, model, and ID of the refrigerator, just to have for their records, because sometimes there's a home warranty involved. And what we saw one time, Tego, is the seller replaced their favorite fridge with a different one that was inferior. And luckily the home inspector had taken the photo of the identification of that refrigerator. And so we were able to say, no, that isn't the one that was supposed to be included with the house. But in addition, when they do a warranty call because the fridge stopped working, that's also where they can verify it's the fridge that was supposed to be covered under the warranty. But go ahead.
No, that was great. And I think that the thing that I want to stress to home buyers in particular is that the home buyer has the option to do Here's the actual language in our purchase agreements, our purchase contracts that we use in New Mexico is, unless otherwise waived, buyer may complete any and all inspections of the property they deem necessary. The buyer must not perform or permit any invasive, potentially damaging inspections without the seller's written approval. And the seller can deny that decision, again, if it's an invasive inspection.
Do you want to know about when that came into play at one point?
Yeah, tell me about it.
I was at a property and the home inspector had a probe that he could stick in the drywall to see if it was moist, because he suspected there was some sort of water or maybe mold behind the wall. And the home inspector used this probe that tested for moisture. I guess it's called a moisture meter.
Yeah.
But it left little holes in the wall everywhere that he did it. And the home seller was very upset. And the home inspector said, well, I did it in very inconspicuous places. And you're like, well, but you put a little tiny hole in the wall in my sheetrock. So they didn't ask first. And it was a bit of an issue.
Yeah, it's one of those things. That's part of what we do. And these little things come up that we navigate through when doing a home sale or purchase. So anyway, so there is a whole thing about home inspection, what's included, what's not included. You can look it up. If you just do New Mexico home inspector licensing, you can find the whole thing, or we can send it to you if you're interested. We're the Venturi Group at Real Broker, 505
48888.
Thank you for jumping
in. You paused. I thought you were telling me to talk.
I almost gave my cell phone number for some reason. I don't know. Anyway,
that would be fine too.
That would be fine.
You would say, call Tracy.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to go through this real quick. So all the different inspections that you could possibly have in a home buying process. Obviously, the termite, or what's called the wood destroying insect inspection.
Right.
The dry rot inspection, which has to do with wood deterioration for a bunch of different reasons. Sewer line and or septic, or I guess it would be sewer line or septic line inspection, where you actually put a camera in that line that goes out to the sewer or the septic tank to make sure it's good.
Can I just add in here what great viewing, the pleasure it is to watch those sewer scope camera videos now.
Yeah.
Now.
You see the brown trout?
Yeah.
Okay. I said it. I know I couldn't help it. Okay. Air duct inspection. Let's just talk about that real quick, because air ducts can be in the walls, in the ceilings, but they can also be in the floor. And when they're in the floor, that's a more common, at least what do you call, red flag to make sure to check them, correct?
So we don't have air duct inspections when they're like in ceilings and walls.
Well, buyers can do it if they want.
I've never had one, and I've called several inspectors who inspect ducts, and they say, we do not. All we do is in floor. There's no point in doing the rest of the house. I've had like 3 different people requested over the years.
But somebody could get it cleaned if they wanted.
They can get them cleaned, but to actually inspect them, the duct inspectors, they inspect in-floor ducts. And you know why?
Why?
In-floor ducts can be collapsed. They can have had, especially in evaporative cooling houses, they can have had a lot of moist water going through a metal ducting system, and it's all corroded and rotted out. And sometimes those ducts were put in the ground pre-foundation in dirt, and then they get moist and they get corroded and they collapse. We've had duct scope inspections before where they found rocks in them and like they got completely crushed during construction.
I recall one where it was actually about a quarter way full of water, the entire duct system.
Yep. I remember one way up by Trem and Osuna, and the whole 2 walls of the living room, all those ducts were full of water. And then we went and looked outside the back of the house, and everything was pooling towards the house right there. And they got restored, and the clients bought the house and they loved it. Their family lived there and had a great time. But
you know what's interesting about that? Because we're talking about all these different inspections and all the bad things that you find in houses. The thing is, everything can be fixed. There is just about a way to fix everything. There's even a way to fix a sewer line that's got a leak underneath a slab without having to break through the slab.
Not always.
Not cheap.
And not always can you do it the
Not
easy
always,
way. Sometimes they have to jackhammer through or chip through the concrete and whatever flooring you have there to get to it. But
okay, let me rapid fire through some of these other inspections. Structural inspection, where you actually get a structural engineer to confirm the soundness of the structure.
I know you're trying to blow through them, but what would make someone wonder, should I get a structural, right? It's like, you see huge cracks in walls. You try to open and close bedroom doors or whatever, and none of them close properly because everything is shifted and they're off square now, or off.
Right.
Is the word off square?
Yeah, it's correct.
They're
out of
kilter.
Out of kilter. I like that. And the other thing is, as we know, there's certain neighborhoods that have known settling problems, and maybe the house doesn't have a problem now, but if it's one of those neighborhoods, we're going to recommend that people get a structural just to make sure they're good,
or at least make them aware of it.
Yeah. The other one, some more environmental type tests. There's radon testing. Radon's very common in New Mexico. A lot of people want to make sure they're good there, and it's not above recommended levels. Mold testing, we talked about that briefly with the ducks, but there are different ways you can test for mold. They've got sniffers that'll test the air. There's different things where they can scrape if they see something, actual physical mold on the walls, they scrape it, bring it to a lab and see what type of mold it is.
And mold is everywhere, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
You're always going to get mold in your house and outside. So when they do those air sniffer tests, they typically take a test outside where they collect air samples and inside just to see if it's different from the outside, right? And there's different types of mold, but it's very complex. So
plumbing inspections, there are two different types of water lines that can be an issue. Something else to look at. There's a bunch of different environmental tests that you can always do if you want, like lead testing, if there's lead-based paint, there's carbon monoxide testing, there's asbestos testing, there's phase 1 environmentals, which has to do more with the soil and the ground. There's even volatile organic compounds, VOCs. So if there's chemicals, you can test for that. So there's a lot of different things. And then on top of that, Tracy, the list goes on and on and on. And I think that the important takeaway here is for somebody purchasing a home, take the time to think about, okay, what's important to me, what's not important to me. And when you're working with us, we help you, walk you through, okay, these are all your options. You get to choose and what you want and what you don't want tested. And we talked about septics. I mean, that's required in New Mexico. If the home has a septic system, it's
certain guidelines, if it hasn't been tested in so long, or if it's been vacant. But generally it needs to be tested at time of sale.
Yeah. If the house has a well for their water, there's some testing that can be done there. If there's radiant in-floor heat, there's some things you can do there because those pipes in the floor could have a problem. There's a way to actually test for that. If it's got a swimming pool, there's things. So the point is, I mean, this goes on and on and on, right? And I think I've got most of them now.
When I'm listening to you, Tego, and all these different things over my 22 years of real estate, all the stories that come to my mind with every one of those things, well, except for some of the environmental and things, there's a lot of tests that I've never had any client do, right?
Yeah.
But in general, I can think of different things about everything that you're talking about. And really what hits me is how much our clients need us, right? With the way it is, with how much we do to help clients make sure when they're working with us, either buying or selling, all the knowledge that we have to draw from to help them making good decisions, right?
Well, I think about your red flags list that you have of just different things that have come up over the years to just be aware of. And we always work with.
I love to teach that because I teach that to realtors pretty regularly. And I go through my red flags and go, okay, who else has learned new things the hard way, or their clients have learned it the hard way that I need to add to my list, so that when I was new to real estate, Tego, I thought I knew a lot. You and I had done a few remodels together. We had bought and sold probably 3 properties together before we were in real estate when we had other careers. And it never ceases to amaze me. I mean, I didn't know about polybutylene pipes. I didn't know about Kitech plumbing. I didn't know all these things that I've learned that now I can just go, hey, we need to look at, do you see that this house has in-floor ducts?
And there's a dozen different things that you can test for in the water when you do a water well test, right? I mean, anyway.
And if you have a loan, certain types of loans require certain types of water testing, right? Yeah. So anyway, we've really got this one to the end here.
Yeah, we went deep in the weeds on there.
Yeah, sorry.
But we love to share what we know and what we've learned over the years in the buying and selling process. And our goal is to help people have a good transaction either way. If you want to reach out to us, we're the Venturi Group at Real Broker, 505-448-8888.
And follow us on.
Oh, yes. Subscribe on
Subscribe.
YouTube. Yes. If you've watched the show and you're this far, come on, just subscribe to YouTube. We appreciate that.
Yep.
If you're on
Appreciate
YouTube.
you subscribing. Have a great weekend and happy Mother's Day.